Greetings, family. It's me, your boy, Bishop Darren Ferguson. And I know that we've been talking for over a month now about the launch of my new web series, Yeah, I Said It. And we are launching, but let's consider this the first episode. And I decided to just come to you organic by myself. You see my dog over here. Well, she's over here, over my shoulder. Uh, but the reason why I wanted to come to you one-on-one for the first mini episode, you could call this, is because of the seriousness of what we're facing right now. As we speak, it's September 26th, 2020. We are approximately 5 weeks away from the absolute most important presidential election of my lifetime, most of our lifetimes. We are in the midst of a global pandemic, which seems like it is on the rise once again. We are looking at a situation in Kentucky where 3 police officers, whether they were acting on bad information or nobody knows but the people who were there, but they broke into Breonna Taylor's house, shot her dead, and only one officer was charged, and he was charged with reckless endangerment. So the concrete, the drywall that he shot was more important than the life of a black woman. We are looking at the changing of the guard in terms of civil rights, some for good and some for bad. For good, we have incredible women leading, like my dear sister Tamika Mallory, who has become, in my opinion, the most authentic, unapologetic voice in the civil rights movement right now. And on the not so good side, you have those who have co-opted the Black Lives Matter movement, who may or may not be black and may or may not be concerned with black lives. And some may be agent provocateurs just placed to make the movement look bad in order to sway sentiment and to sway voters in this election. And on top of it all, we have a narcissistic orange ass in the White House who would dare to insult black men and black women by saying that he has a platinum plan for black folks, which include making Juneteenth a holiday. All yet and while we stand in the shadows of him saying things like the Charlottesville rioters, the white supremacists that were marching in Charlottesville, were good people. We are living in a dangerous yet hopeful time. And I'm hoping that this web series, Yeah, I Said It, will provide hope, healing, laughter, and a lot of things. Those of you who know me as a bishop in the Lord's Church, as the pastor of Bethel Baptist Church, as someone who has been involved in civil rights and activism for most of the last 2 decades, please don't expect this to be Bible study. Please don't expect this to be a feel-good kumbaya session where we're talking about, the 66 books of the Bible, which my faith is who I am. So my faith will impact this web series. But that's not what the focus of the web series is. The focus of this web series is to provide an authentic, unapologetic, unbossed, unbowed, unapologetically black voice to the cacophony of jackassery that we're seeing going around today. And I want to bring to light some of the people who have been inspirations to me. The episode that we have in the can already, I spent an hour talking with one of the architects of black male achievement in this country, Sean Dove, as they are sunsetting the campaign for black male achievement later this year. It's a wonderful, riveting, funny, heartfelt conversation that you will see before September's up. But in the meantime, I just want to inspire you and let you know that I plan on making my voice heard. I plan on informing you. I plan on uh, being raw and uncut. And I want you to challenge me. I want you who watch this. I want in the comments and in the DMs. I want you to tell me that you don't agree with me. Tell me why you don't agree with me. Let's talk. Let's have an honest conversation. I don't care if you're a black Republican or a black Democrat. I don't like if you're a Trump supporter, but if you're a Trump supporter, let's have that conversation, and let's have a real conversation without just cutting one another off and not wanting to hear what the other side has to say, because I've already drawn my line in the sand. I have not drawn a line in the sand. What I've drawn is my place. And I know who I am. I'm unapologetic in who I am. I'm very clear about what side I'm leaning on. I'm very clear that even though I am very much on board and voting for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, I have issues with them. And the issues that I have with them is not stemming from the 1994 crime bill that Biden helped to author. I'm past that. That was 26 years ago. It was a different time. And a lot of the black politicians and black leaders that we deify were in support of the crime bill. So let's keep that 100. And I'm not upset about all of Kamala Harris's record as the AG of California and the work that she did in San Francisco, because she did oftentimes, and we can argue about that, but she did oftentimes what prosecutors and attorney generals are supposed to do. She protected the interests of the state, and she did it well. But in this new time that we're living in this Me Too progressive, LGBT supporting, non-patriarchal time that we're living in, both of them have made turns and swerves and adjustments in their attitude, in their character, in their messaging. But still, even in that adjustment, I still have problems with them. And guess what? We're going to have problems with whoever is a candidate, whoever's running for office. There's no one who can run for office who we're going to agree with 100% of the time. But my concern at this point is that there seems to be no platform other than we need to get Donald Trump out of office. And that is a very important part of the platform, but that is not the entire platform. And what bothers me most about this platinum package that the Orange Jackass has instituted is that it just shows that he at least had the gumption to put forth a plan. Where's the plan, Joe Biden? Where's the plan, Kamala Harris? Where's the platform? Where is the argument for you being elected other than we got to get Donald Trump out? So that's what I want to see in these next 4 to 5 weeks. And that's some of what we'll be discussing in our early broadcast. But going from the political to the ecclesiastical, I'm concerned that so many of my brothers and sisters in ministry are silent. So many of my brothers and sisters in ministry seem to be happy with a kumbaya. It doesn't matter what color he was, as long as his blood was red. And they seem to be content with spouting forth a white evangelical mindset from the pulpit of a black church every Sunday. I have a problem with that. I have a problem that too many of us are not speaking out. And I get it, y'all. I get it. A lot of us are trying to keep our churches open. A lot of us are fighting for our lives in terms of our pastoral, because the tithes and offerings aren't coming in like they were. And it's been 7 months now. And some of the churches are really struggling. And it's easy for T.D. Jakes or my pastor Calvin Butts or some churches, and all of the churches are struggling in some way, but it's much easier for some churches who started this off with resources, who started this off with a foundational nest egg that they could draw upon during this time. And a lot of our smaller churches, our storefront churches, our smaller denominational churches did not have that option. So I get it. You have to preach hard on Sunday. You have to do all that you can to keep your church financially solvent. But at what expense? You can keep your church financially solvent and still speak out against oppression. You can keep your church financially solvent and take a stand for something. And I know a lot of you are studied and are learned, and I know that a lot of my brothers in ministry are still very much in support of patriarchy. And I understand the biblical reasons why you support it, but I also don't understand why you are standing in the way of progress, why you want to keep the black church a good old boys club, why there are black women in our churches that still don't feel safe amongst us. They don't feel emotionally safe amongst us. They don't feel physically safe amongst us. They don't feel spiritually safe amongst us because there's been so much abuse leveled. And it's not every church, it's not every pastor, it's not every situation, but there has been a silence. There has been a silent ascent of patriarchy, of misogyny, of homophobia, of child endangerment, of borderline child abuse in a lot of our churches that has gone on from ages past that we're still allowing to continue today. Where's that voice? Where's that authentic voice that can stand up and say, I believe God, I believe the Bible, but I also stand for making sure that our sisters feel safe in church, making sure that we're not looking out every week at a congregation, whether it's on Zoom, Facebook Live, whatever platform you're using, of a church that's sometimes 60, 70, 80% women, but there are no women represented in the leadership in your church. I'm so blessed in this season, and I'm going to have, one of my sessions is going to be with them. I have 5 or 6 young women who I am blessed to serve as their catechist for ministry. And what I'm doing is I have folks like Lisa Jenkins and Alonda Hassel and her husband, soon to be Bishop James Hassel, who are going to come on and pour into them. My bishop, Michael Anthony Baston, Prophetess Tasha Baston. I'm making sure that some of the leading female voices, some of the leading womanist voices in the country pour into them, because I am not I'm not so conceited to believe that me as a man who has benefited from patriarchy in the church has everything that these women need in order to be trained for 21st century ministry. All the while pointing them towards seminary, pointing them towards avenues where they can get theological educations. And I need us to step up and truly become the church, to stop being white evangelicals in black skin in some cases, to stop apologizing to white churches, to stop kowtowing to folks like, I'm not going to say no names, but to some of the big popular white evangelicals, and hugging up and kissing up to them when what they espouse from their churches and their stance on some issues is harmful to our black skin. We cannot allow our blackness to be weaponized against us. And we cannot allow our black skin to be monetized without us being the beneficiaries of that monetization. And what I mean by the beneficiaries of the monetization is if black preaching, black churches, black excellence, all of the things that we're doing, businesses, if the money being generated by things that they're putting black faces on are not directly benefiting black people, then we need to change the venue. We need to change the channel. We need to change the frequency. We need to find another level of bandwidth. And we're going to have to learn as the church, as people of God, as everyday churchgoers, to expand our bandwidth to be able to understand that there's more there than just reading what's on the page, that there's thousands of years of scholarship, and we have to be skeptical of some of the scholarship as we're reading Karl Barth, and as we're reading Tertullian of Clement, and as we're reading about the Council of Nicaea and the Council of Chalcedon. As we're reading about all of these things through a mostly European lens, we have to temper that with black theologians today like James Cone, Ebony Marshall Turman, Kelly Brown Douglas. The list goes on and on. I'm reading Otis Moss III right now. We have to temper the white European narrative that has been fed to us as our faith. We have to temper that with black theologians, womanist theologians, theologians that have approached the writ from a lens that is authentically ours. Not one that is attempting to interpret the scripture for us, but an interpretation that is for us, by us, because of us, and benefiting us. And that has not always been the case. So I'm going to get down on my soapbox, y'all. This has been a preview, a first salvo, an opening conversation into Yeah, I Said It. I'll stand by whatever I said. And I am not so conceited or so big-headed to believe that I can't be wrong. Prove me wrong. Show me the research. Show me the scholar. Show me the chapter and verse in the Bible, and be ready to discuss it from a more than one-dimensional approach. Be prepared to discuss it using hermeneutical tools that are at our disposal. Be prepared to discuss it in a way that represents who we are as black people in the 21st century. I'm not discussing theology with you if you're still using a swing low sweet chariot back home in the plantation theology. I'm not doing that. We've evolved past that. And in our evolution, in our unapologetic blackness, in our fervent Christendom, in our unwavering belief in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, in our unwillingness to bow to Pharaoh, in our unwillingness to bow to Massa, in our unwillingness to bow to Jim Crow, to Jane Crow, to James Crow the Third Esquire, in our unwillingness to bow before structures that have been erected over centuries to harm us, in our unwillingness to submit ourselves to a country whose constitution was written considering us 3/5 of a human being, in our adaptation, in our adoption, sorry, I'm being black using words out of context, in our adoption of a black theological process that involves real economic empowerment, which is more than taking up an offering every time we meet. Real economic empowerment, which involves the ownership of real estate, of businesses, of developing 21st century models of business. In that, we find our liberation. In that, we find our freedom. In that, we find a way to overcome those who have weaponized our skin tone against us. And for all my sisters, I really want to hear your voices. I want you to call me on my patriarchy. I want you to call me on my mess, call me on my nonsense, and know that we can agree to disagree, but I'll never be disagreeable. So this is the first foray, the first salvo, the first little hint into what we'll be getting in Yeah, I Said It with Dr. Darren Ferguson. And every episode I'll end by saying simply this: I love you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. We'll see you again in a few days talking to one of the architects of black male empowerment and black male leadership in the United States of America, my brother, Sean Dove. Until then, God bless you. See you next time. This has been Yeah, I Said It with me, your boy,